Every Office document that you and I create is based on a theme, whether we're creating an Excel spreadsheet, a PowerPoint presentation, an Outlook email message, or a Word document. Themes began with design templates in Microsoft PowerPoint. And if you wanted to create a new theme from scratch, I'd encourage you to do it in PowerPoint. Themes determine the overall look of our document. Themes are composed of 3 design elements: theme colors, which provide a coordinated color palette, theme fonts, a set of 2, and theme effects, graphic effects that are applied to objects like charts and smart art, and determine what the overall object will look like. Is it satin or matte or glossy? Does it have outlining, and so on. Word art formatting also depends on themes, as do charts in Microsoft Excel, which get their fonts and colors from themes. But in Word, we also have theme-driven styles and style sets, which we will talk about in a moment. In Word, we find our themes on the Design tab. If I hover over the Themes button, it will tell me that the current theme is Office, and this is the default in Microsoft Office, all the applications. If I click the drop-down, I will see more themes, and all of these are built-in themes for Word for Office 365. If your organization has custom themes that they have created to enforce branding or style guides, they'll often be listed in a separate section at the top with the company name or custom as the heading. These are all Office themes. There's no such thing as a Word theme. And this is particularly helpful when you need to provide a common look for documents that were created in different applications. You can give your documents the same look and feel simply by choosing exactly the same theme in the applications you use, in Word, Excel, in PowerPoint. When I point to a different theme, you'll notice that automatically I get a preview. So if I want to know what my document would look like if I chose Ion Boardroom, Retrospect, Circuit, Celestial, and you'll note that not only are the fonts changing, but my chart is changing too. Not just my text, you'll notice that my chart is changing too. Whenever we format a document, we start here by choosing the theme, because other choices that we make will be overridden by the theme. Here on the Home tab, we have a set of styles over here on the right, but much of the formatting that many Word users do focuses instead here in the font and the paragraphs group. For example, if this is a heading and I wanted to format this, I might decide I'd like my headings to be larger, a 14 point, and bold, and perhaps even change the color to this blue. And then if I wanted to do that again, I could either make the same set of choices here, or as a shortcut, I could use the Format Painter. However, this method of formatting, using the tools that are in the font and paragraph dialog boxes or in the font and paragraph groups, is really sort of like putting lipstick on the pig. Because even though I formatted this and said, this is what I want my headings to look like, this isn't a heading, this is just normal text that I've applied some formatting to. And so from Word's point of view, all of the text in this document is at the same level, it's all normal. When you move to this next group and use styles, not only do you change the look of your text, you also change the type of text you have. So for example, if I click on Wind Installations and choose heading 1, now my text here is normal, but this Word understands to be a heading. Part of my goal in this course is to convince you to limit your use of the font and paragraph groups and dialog boxes, and to expand your use of styles, because styles do some amazing things for you, whether you create documents alone or collaboratively. And styles really pay off in the future when you or someone else reuses documents or sections of the documents that you formatted. A style is a saved set of formatting choices. For example, this style includes the default font used for headings at a larger size, 18 point, in accent color 1 from the theme, single line spacing, 20 points in front of it, and then some choices from the paragraph dialog box. 2 points after, keep with next, keep lines together. By saving all of these different choices together as a style, it's easy then to be able to select text and format it, even if it's the first text in a document that I'm formatting as a heading. And a style set, which we see when we expand this gallery, is just what it sounds like. A group of styles saved together for use in a document. With styles, we can quickly and easily create professional documents and reports, apply formatting changes, provide a consistent look for our documents, collaborate very easily with our colleagues because text inserted anywhere by anyone automatically takes on the style sets of the document. When I use styles, I also have access to heading-based navigation. If I click on View and I choose Navigation pane, notice what's picked up here, the text that is formatted as styles. And when I'm all done creating and formatting this document, I can easily generate a table of contents in 30 seconds or less that can be dynamically updated, and I won't have to type a thing to do it. Themes and styles work together to make it easy to create well-formatted, professional documents that are easy to update and easy to reuse. This is a basic document with some text, a chart object, and a footer at the bottom. Let's look at the current style set for this document. Here on the Home tab, in Styles, I'm going to click and you see that we have 17 different styles that are available to us, from normal, which is used for body text, to headings, titles, and so on. And that we have blue as our effect color that's used in a number of these styles, light blue, dark blue, and so on. Let's click the Design tab, point to the Themes button, and you'll notice that Office, the default for Word, is the theme that's being used in this document. If I wanted to change the theme, we could do that fairly quickly. Let's choose Berlin. Changes my text, changes the color on the chart, and so on. We're going to hang in here with the Office theme, so I undid that change. To the right of the Themes button are a set of examples, thumbnails, that show how those themes will be applied to this particular document. These really are thumbnails of the style sets in use. This document uses the default, Office, sort of plain, but I want to switch to another style set that I will admit is my favorite. It's called Shaded. It's right down here and it has highlighted or shaded heading style for headings 1 and 2. I'm going to click and you'll notice that not much happens here. And the reason not much happens is I haven't applied style to the document yet. But let's swing back to the Home tab and notice that our style set now includes that highlighting that I said was so attractive to me. Now let's use some styles. First, I'm going to choose the title, and there is a special style just for titles. It runs over to the next line. We'll address that in a moment. I'd like to apply heading 1s to my top level of headings. Now, there are several of them, and I can hold Control to select sections of text that are non-contiguous, and there are 4 heading 1s in this document, right here. Select them, choose heading 1, and there we go. With very little effort, this document already is more striking. It's something that someone is more likely to pick up and look at than when it had just plain text. I'd like to address the issue that I have with the title. This is a title that we use over and over again. Residential installation summary, and then the year and the quarter, and I don't always want it to run across 2 lines. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to a 22 point, and it will all fit. Now, the next time I modify this document, or the next time I use a title, I'd actually like the title to be 22 point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify this style. And the way I do that is with my newly formatted title selected. I'm going to open up my style set, point to the title. If I just click here, it's going to throw it back just the way it was. So don't click, right click, and choose Update Title to Match Selection. And what I have done now is I've actually changed that style so that it looks like this. Check it out. If I make this normal, it's back. If I choose title, it's now my 22 point, you can read it right here in the font group, 22 point title. Now, if I'd wished to, I could also have clicked modify to open a dialog box. I could change many other properties for this title. And I'll point out to you that it's added to the styles gallery because this checkbox is enabled. It doesn't update automatically. If it did, when I changed it to begin with, it would have updated. And I really don't want to do that. I want to be in charge of it. I don't want an accidental change I make to change the style. But it was easy enough to modify the style simply by right-clicking in the style I want to modify and update it to match the formatted text in my document. I want to create a new style, and the style I want doesn't already exist. It's somewhere between subtle emphasis and quote, but in a different color, a contrasting color. I'm going to select this paragraph, the first paragraph under solar installations, and I'm going to apply the quote style to this. That's what it looks like. Now what I'd like to do is I'd like to change the color so that it is this gold, and I'd like to bold it. And because I'd like a pull quote effect, I'm going to indent it, just like that. Now, I want to take this formatted text and create a new style. So I'm going to choose Create a Style, give it a name, pull quote, and if I wish, I could click the Modify button to have access to all kinds of formatting attributes, but this is all I really want to do to create this new style. I'm going to click OK, and the new style by default is automatically added to my style set for this document. So if I want to use it again, it's easy enough to do. While there is much more to styles than I've shown you thus far, you can see how easy it is to apply a style, to modify a style by example, and to be able to create a new style from an existing style or even from scratch if you wish. You're going to see this document later. You can save it if you wish, or you can simply open the new document when you get to the next movie that uses this document. One more thing before we leave this document. If when you open a document, you see a navigation pane on the left side, you can close it with the X, or you can close it here on the View menu. If you open a document and there isn't a ruler and you'd like one, that's another choice here in View. So when you open documents, if you see navigation panes or rulers and you do or don't want them, simply go to the Show group and you can turn these features on or off. There are 5 types of styles in Microsoft Word, and how we work with a style depends on what type of style it is. Character styles are applied to selected text. So if I wanted, for example, to have some text that is styled using the strong style, the first thing I'll do is select the text, then I'll apply the style. Paragraph styles aren't quite as picky. If you have a paragraph or paragraph selected, then the style will be applied when you choose it. However, if you don't have any text selected and you have the insertion point sitting somewhere in a paragraph, when you apply a paragraph style, it will be applied to that entire paragraph. There's another difference between character styles and paragraph styles. Character styles use the commands that are accessible here in the font group and in the font dialog box. Paragraph styles use the attributes that we find in the paragraph dialog box. The third type of style is called a linked style, and a linked style behaves like a character style and like a paragraph style, and can include formatting from the font dialog box and from the paragraph dialog box and other dialog boxes as well. If I have some text selected and I apply a linked style, then it is applied only to selected text like a character style. But if I don't have any text selected, then it will style the entire paragraph that the insertion point is in, just like a paragraph style. There are 2 special styles, list styles used for lists and table styles used for tables. If you'd like to know what type of style a style is, well, you can get that information by opening the Modify dialog box and looking at the style, but there's actually a better way to do this. I'm going to click the dialog box launcher in the lower right-hand corner of the styles group, and that opens this styles pane here on the right-hand side. You can move this around on your screen. When you close it, the next time you open it, it will appear wherever it was that you dropped it today. If I want to see a preview of the styles, I can turn that on, and then I'm really seeing the same type of gallery that I see if I expand the style set gallery. Or I can turn the preview off. There are 3 different icons that are used to display the type of style that we're seeing. If I look at subtle emphasis, it has just the letter A. It's a character style. So if I select a couple of words like wind harvesters and I apply the subtle emphasis style, It's applied just to those two words. I'm going to undo that. What if I had nothing selected? Well, the insertion point's still somewhere. Subtle emphasis then is a character style. It will format a word, the word that the insertion point is in. An example of a paragraph style is no spacing. So if I choose a paragraph or click in a paragraph and choose no spacing, then that paragraph gets tightened up. And if I undo that, my normal spacing comes back. With my linked styles, they have both the paragraph and the character symbol next to them. So check this out. I'm going to select just part of this line in the second paragraph and apply heading 1. And when I do that, it only formats the text that I had selected. In other words, because it's a linked style, with something selected, that's what gets formatted. But with nothing selected with a linked style, it will format the entire paragraph because it's a linked style. If I'd like to know more about a style, I can simply point and hover, and you'll see the font attributes, the paragraph attributes, and then the style attributes. Style attributes include whether or not it shows up in the styles gallery and if it's built on another style. So the pulse quote style that we created in a former movie was based on quote, and it lists that. It's in the styles gallery, and it's based on quote. You might think, no, that's interesting. Most styles are based on other styles. Heading 1 is based on normal. Heading 2, based on normal. Title, based on normal. So starting with an existing style and modifying it is really one way to keep your document very consistent. Because if the normal style changes, every single style built on the normal style will change along with normal. For example, if we change to a totally different font for our normal style, that font change will change the font that's used in our headings. It'll change the font that's used in our quote, which then in turn will change the font used in our pull quote. I'm going to scroll down in this document and show you how the list styles work. Here's my list. I have list styles like bullets. I have list styles like numbering. Right now it shows that I'm using list paragraph over on the right-hand side. If I then choose this particular style, it's still a particular list paragraph style. And in a table, my styles are available to me on the Table Design tab, and they can be quite complex. That's a table style. If your document doesn't include tables, you won't have table styles. If it doesn't include lists, you won't have access to list styles. But you will always have access to your character styles, your paragraph styles, and your linked styles. They are the bread and butter of documents created in Microsoft Word. If you are one of the millions of Word users who started out using WordPerfect, you might remember something called Reveal Codes, which allowed us to see the formatting that was in place for a section of text. Word has this same feature, and it's called Reveal Formatting. Simply select a section of text, then hold Shift and hit F1 to open the Reveal Formatting pane on the right side of the screen. It lists first the start of my text that is selected, then it shows the font, paragraph, and section formatting that is applied here. If you want to modify some attribute, there are links that will take you to the appropriate dialog box to be able to change the formatting for the selected text. There's another neat feature of the Reveal Formatting pane. I can find out if two paragraphs are formatted the same way. So if I select this paragraph and say compare to another selection, and then I select another paragraph, it will tell me if there are any formatting differences or not. Reveal Formatting is really just one press and click away. Shift F1, and you can have access to lots of information about text in your document. But there's another formatting tool that I want to show you. It's a legacy tool from older versions of Microsoft Word, and yet it has a really specific use. It's called the Style Area. It's been hidden away in newer versions of Word, so first you have to turn it on. To enable the Style Area, we're going to go to File, we're going to drop down to Options, and then click Advanced. And we're going to scroll down to the Display Area, which is about halfway down the page, and notice Style Area, Pane Width in Draft and Outline Views. And it says it's 0 inches. So I'm going to actually give it 1 1/4 inches, 1.25. and click OK. Now nothing happens, and that's because we're not in draft or outline view. But I'm going to switch my view to draft view. And by the way, this might be a reason that you would want to use draft view, because take a look at the left-hand side. For every single paragraph, I see what style has been applied to the paragraph. It does not show me character level formatting. It is actually showing me my styles that are applied to the paragraph as a whole. So if you need to scan through a document and see what paragraph formatting has been applied, this is the fastest tool to use. And I simply leave it on, because if I'm switching to draft mode, this is probably the reason. And if not, when I switch back to my print layout mode, it doesn't really care that I have style area turned on in my draft and outline modes. Two tools then that allow us to see the styles that are used in a document. Style area, which shows us which styles are applied at the paragraph level, and reveal formatting, which allows us to see what styles are used, how those styles are created, and to compare one section of text to another to find any differences in how they are formatted. This document is called Applying Styles. It's in the Chapter 2 folder, and it's the document that we were working with relatively recently. And the first thing that I want to do is show you how you clear styles, and I'm going to show you how to apply styles. So if I wanted to clear all the formatting from this document, including styles, I'd just hold Control, hit A to select the entire document, and I'd hit Clear Formatting. And there go my formats, including my styles. Control Z to bring that back. But sometimes I have a document that people are working in, and they've actually used the formatting tools that are available in the format dialog box. Maybe they put in some fancy glow letters, whatever it is that they've done, maybe some italics here. And if I want to get rid of just that type of formatting in a document, character-based formatting, I can select the entire document, Control A, and I can hold Control and hit the space bar and retain my styles and throw out all of the formatting that was applied manually using the font dialog box. This is a quick way to clean up a document that has a mix of styled text and text that was formatted manually. So Control Spacebar, nice thing to hang on to. You can also select a section of text before you hit either Clear Formatting or Control Spacebar to clear out character-based formatting. So the first way to apply styles is a method we're familiar with, which is to select the text and then choose the particular style. For example, I might want to format this as normal. I might want to format this as a title because it is. Second method, if I select some text, and every time I select text, I get this great context shortcut bar that includes all these formatting tools, including styles. So if I wanted then to make this an intense reference, I can do that. A book title, strong, intense. That's our second method. Our third method is to use the pane that we've been working with previously. So one way to get that styles pane is to click here. There's also a shortcut for it. If you point to this, we have Alt, Control, Shift, plus S. You have to press and hold the Alt key before you engage Control, Shift, and S for styles. But if I wanted to apply a style to a paragraph of text, for example, or a sentence, and have a subtle emphasis on this, just like that. And remember that you can show the preview here if you want to see what it's going to look like before you apply it. If I have text selected here and I use the gallery, I get to see ahead of time if I simply pause before I click what it will look like. So it's nice to have that same ability to have a preview if you're doing a lot of formatting. The only problem with this method really, and with our first method, is it requires us to come back here to be able to get to the gallery or to recall what is to me a pretty grisly long shortcut, which is Alt, Control, Shift, and S. But what I could choose to do is I could actually put this button on my Quick Access Toolbar. Simply right-click, add to Quick Access Toolbar, and now I have one-click access to turn that styles pane on and off, regardless of where I am. So if I'm working on the References tab, I can still simply pull that up directly. One more thought about this task pane. If you drag it all the way to the right, you can usually get it to dock. There we go. It will also dock all the way on the left-hand side of your screen if you prefer. And if you do, then when you hide it away, you gain that space back. For me, I'm a quick access toolbar aficionado, so that's my best method. You're going to be doing a lot of formatting using styles, so it's good to have a strategy, shortcut key, or quick access toolbar for making sure that it's easily available to you. This document is called Sales Tables. Remember that there are choices that are available for tables that we don't see until we actually click in a table in Microsoft Word. So I'm going to click in my first table. There are 2 of them in this document. And I now have a table design and a layout tab. The layout tab allows me to modify the layout of the table, including its sizing, whether or not it has grid lines, and so on. We're going to focus on the table design tab because these are my table styles, and these are the options that drive the styles. If I click here to open the gallery, you'll see that we have plain tables at the top, which have very little shading and borders. Then we have grid tables, which you might use for a timetable, for example. Some of these have a highlighted first column. So if you had labels here and numbers in the other columns, that might be fitting. And then you have list tables below that are really made for items that are peers. None of these have total rows. If I turn on total rows, then my gallery will now have total rows at the bottom. See, they appear below. And if I don't want banded rows, and I turn this off, then the options in my gallery don't have banded rows. I happen to like banded rows because not everything about what we do with styles is really just a design element. Banded rows make it easier for someone to read across, and that's particularly helpful in this table where we have items that a user needs to be able to view easily all the way across the screen, all the way across the table, and not get lost in it. But let's focus on this first table. Let's keep our banded rows. I don't want a different first column, but I do want a header row that's formatted differently. So with those options in place, I'm going to choose then a format that works for me. Where do these colors come from? They come from our theme. So I'm going to make a selection of table styles, and that's what this table looks like. That's okay. I don't mind it, but I'd really like to have breaks between my columns. So I'm going to choose a slightly different style just to get this line between the cells in these 2 tables. With my second table, I could choose the same style if I wish. There's no reason I couldn't, but I could also choose something different. So imagine that for internal use, every time you have a product list, it's in blue, but every time you have pricing, you make sure that it's in green so people notice that you do have prices and you don't simply want to make those available, the difference between our manufacturing costs and our suggested retail. If you wish, you have the ability to go in and to create a new table style. So you can choose the table that's closest to the style you wish and modify the table style. When you do, then you need to give it a new name. You apply formatting to either the whole table, header rows, total rows, and so on, and you actually build out a table bit by bit, piece by piece, based on what you would like your table to look like. So you provide specifications for a header row, or for the whole table, or for odd or even banded rows, and so on. Most of the time, however, if you've chosen a theme that enforces your organization's branding, and you've made the right choices for your table style options, you won't need to create new table styles or modify the table styles that already exist. You have a lot of options to choose from. If you want to have any of your tables go back to what they looked like previously, your best choice here is simply to choose your original plain table, and you're back again. You don't have to choose undo to return to the table you started with initially. But I'm going to keep my last 2 changes here because I like how they look. Microsoft Word supports 2 broad types of lists. The first type of list is a single level list, and there are 2 types of single level lists, with bullet points and with numbers. We use numbered lists for things that are done in a sequence, a series of steps, or for a list that is inherently numbered, like a list of the top 10 movies, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We use bullet points for items where the sequence doesn't make a difference. They are peers to each other. The second type of list is a multi-level list, which can include either numbers or bullet points or both. Let's see how we apply styles to lists in Word. This is the sales list document. It contains two different lists, a single level list and a multi-level list. The items in our single level list aren't necessarily a numbered list. I think they're probably peers to each other. And I have, again, my style gallery right here. So if I wanted to make this a bulleted list, I could, just like that. Could also make it a numbered list, equally easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But I'm going to switch it back to a bullet list. What I'd like to do, though, is I'd like to define a new bullet. I'm going to choose a symbol. You could choose a picture or a font, but I'm going to choose a symbol, and the symbol I'm going to choose is simply an open box, and I'm going to apply that. So if someone wants to check these boxes, they can. This is commonly used in something like a checklist. So I'm going to create a new style for this type of a list. With my text selected, I'm going to create a style. I'm going to call it checklist. And if I clicked on modify, it will actually show me that this is based on the existing list paragraph style. And I'm going to click OK. And now checklist is here. So if I change my formatting and I swing back to checklist, now I have this for other lists in this document. And I'll be showing you later how you save a style so that it can be used in all the documents that you create. Let's swing down to our multi-level list. The multi-level list feature is wonderful, particularly if you need to format numbered documents like contracts or formats that require numbered headings, because in a multi-level list you have the ability to do both of those things. If I open the multi-level list drop down here in the paragraph group, you'll see that the current list would have a 1 and then an open circle for the first bullet, a square box, and so on. That's the default list really in Word. But look at the list library and we have choices. This list, for example, is a list for something like a contract or a set of bylaws. 1 is the highest level, 1.1, one level down, 1.1.1, and so on. But that same list exists right here with the word heading. So rather than saying 1 point and some text, it says 1, heading 1, 1.1, heading 2. And what this multi-level list does is it combines the benefits of headings with the benefits of multi-level lists. And this is actually the choice that I'm going to make. So when I do that, Word actually changes my heading 1s to be 1 and 1.1, which is super slick. Check this out. So fees is a heading 1. Now, why does it think that it should be a 2? Well, because I had a list previously, so I'm going to select that and say restart this list at 1. That works. Training fee, heading 2. This would be a great time to pop up my dialog box right here on the right. Registration fee, heading 2. Expenses, heading 1. Notice it automatically knows to go to the number 2. And these two items, here and here, holding control to select them both, are both heading 2s, and they're properly numbered, and this is now going to be a heading 1. So that looks great, but it actually gets even better than that. If I were to take the registration fee paragraph and cut it, and then drop it in here above, notice that it automatically renumbers for me. If I make training fee a heading 1, then expenses is automatically renumbered for me. But if I use the navigation pane, I don't have to select and cut and paste. I can simply move other costs, for example, right here. And other costs is now renumbered 2 and expenses is renumbered 3. Just like that. Imagine as you are adding text to a contract or cutting text from a contract, how much time simply using these heading styles or the multi-level list style itself without headings will save you. Just as you can use Microsoft Word's replace feature to locate and replace one string of text with another, You can also use it to replace one style with another, and I want to show you two different reasons you might want to do that. You may find others as you go along. This is where you would normally type text, but I'm going to click the More button, click on Format, and choose Style. And I'm going to say that every place I have normal text in this document, I want to replace it with no spacing text. So there's the no spacing style. And I'm going to tell it to replace, and it's selecting this first one. So we'll replace that, replace this. It's subtle, it just tightens it up a bit. And then I'll finally tell it to replace all of them. So now I've tightened up all of that text in this document, simply replacing one style with another. So that's one possibility, that what I need to do is simply tighten up a document or choose to replace every time I've used my pull quote style with subtle emphasis, something like that. So you're reformatting the document as a whole. The second time I might have to replace styles is a little different than that, but this is my residential installation summary, and somebody came and knocked on my door and said, well, actually, we're going to combine residential and commercial in a larger document, so they're going to be together, at least for this quarter. I'm like, okay, well, the title isn't going to be residential installation summary anymore. That's going to end up being heading 1, and my heading 1s will become heading 2s. So as long as I go to the lowest level first and replace them heading up the chain, if I had heading 2s, for example, make my heading 2s, heading 3s, my heading 1, heading 2s, my title a heading 1, that will work. You don't want to start at the top, because if I first started by making my title a heading 1, then I couldn't do a replace all because I have heading 1s otherwise that should become heading 2s. But what I'm going to do is choose to replace first my heading 1s, because that is the lowest level I have. And notice that there's two choices here. Remember that the headings are a linked style. This style will only replace basically the formatting. So don't choose the character style, choose the heading 1, which is our style that is a paragraph style as well. So I'm going to say take my heading 1s and replace them. We'll choose our replacement here with heading 2s. Again, not heading 2 character. And I'm going to replace the first one. Let's see how that looked. Yeah, there it went. That was the first one below where my insertion point was. So now I'm going to simply replace them all. 3 additional replacements were made, and I replaced all of the heading 1s in my document with heading 2s. Now, I could then do a find and replace operation to replace the title with a heading 1, but I really don't need to. There's only one, so I can do that manually. With judicious use of the replace function, and using replace rather than replace all if you don't need to replace all the formatting, I can use replace in Word to easily reformat my document, swapping one style for another without the need to do it manually. One more thought. If I wanted to replace the word installations, but only if it occurred in a heading 2 or a heading 1, I can do that as well. When you choose replace, if I were replacing the word installations, I would say anytime I have the word installations in a heading 2, for example, replace it with the word installs in a heading 2. So this is how you would use replace to be able to make replacements, but only for text that had a particular style applied. Our next task is to create our own custom styles. Part of creating styles is providing them with names. This is not a trivial choice for a couple of reasons. First, the names that we give our styles appear visually in the gallery. If I create a style and name it my first style, that might be accurate, but that's not very helpful to me or to other users. You don't want cute names or even clever names. You want solid descriptive names that allow your users to figure out how a style should be used. I say your users as if they're different people, but some of the documents I have found most confusing were documents I created 10 or 20 years ago when my best practices weren't yet developed. So here are some basic rules to help. First, if you intend a style will be used as a title, then put the word title somewhere in its name. You can't name a style title because that style name already exists in every document. But you can include the word title. The same thing applies when you create a style that is a heading. You could use body for body text. You can't use normal because it already exists. If you have a list, you might want to name it B list or bullet list or N list for numbered list. Earlier, I created a style called note. I've also created styles named tip and warning because I use them in my documents, in handouts, as tips or as notes or warnings. I use them in user guides. These are my style names. But what if you were creating some new styles for documents produced in your department and you happen to work in the finance department? What kind of names might you use for finance department documents? Well, perhaps finance title for the title of documents, finance heading 1, finance body, finance list, and so on. Or you might simply use FIN title, FIN heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. When you name styles in this way, if you take a look at the list of styles in your document or a list of styles that are saved in a template, they appear in alphabetical order with the styles that you create for special purposes all listed consecutively. One more thought. If I know I'm going to use these styles not for all finance documents, but for annual reports only, then rather than calling them finance title and finance heading 1, I might choose annual report title or ANN RPT title. You choose names for your styles that are descriptive in terms of how they are used and relatively brief, briefer than these examples, so that they're not taking up a lot of space and are easily readable in the gallery. I'm creating a report and I've been asked to have this report look a little more branded, to use our company's colors. If you're interested in doing that type of branding for your organization, I would like to recommend using Office 2013 themes and templates for branding, which you'll find in the LinkedIn Learning Library. Don't worry that it's a 2013 course. This course also works for the later versions of Microsoft Office. It will show you exactly everything you need to know to be able to create custom color sets that you can use in Word and other applications. But for now, I just need to create 2 specific styles and 2 specific colors, and I want to show you how to do that. I've made sure first that the styles that I want don't already exist, and I'm going to begin by selecting this heading 1. There are actually 2 in the document. Residential installations and commercial installations. I could go grab them both if I wanted to. And now I'm going to modify them. The first thing I want to do is right justify them. And notice that both of them were right justified. I want to put a border or a bottom line underneath them. And if I wish, I can actually modify this line using borders and shading. I have some options about the color, for example, about the thickness. Perhaps I want a slightly thicker line. There we go. And now I want to change the color. And my heading 1s, I want to pick up the color that's used in the KINET in Kinetico, sort of a teal. And we have a lime green color that's used in ECO, and I'm going to use those for the heading 2s. So how do I know what those colors are? I took the short path. I asked our marketing department to give me the color values that I can use for Kinet and for Echo. And they can give them to you in several different ways. Typically, though, you'll get either RGB, which stands for red, green, blue values, or you will get a hexadecimal value that is one 6-character code that includes numbers and some letters. So either hexadecimal or RGB values will work just fine, and if you are given some other kind of values like an HSL color, there are plenty of converters online. You can search to find them. But now that I know my RGB values, I can go to the color for this text, choose more colors, and the RGB values of 17, tab from one of these to the next, 133, and as I'm actually modifying this, my color's being changed. It's not a huge color difference, but this is much more precise than this blue was, which is the Office template blue. And as you modify the RGB, hexadecimal value will change. If you enter a hexadecimal value, it will give you RGB. HSL is also directly available here. I'm going to click OK. The color's been changed for both of them, and I'll make it bold, and it's taking me down to show me that they both have been done. This is cool. This is exactly what I want, and now I can save this. If I don't mind overwriting heading 1 at this point, remember that you can right-click and modify this, either in the dialog box or simply updating it to match the selection. But I want to create a brand new heading so that I have both of them available to me in this document. So just go to Create a Style. I'm going to call this K-Head Space 1 and choose OK. And here is my new heading right here. Let's now do solar installations. My heading 2. Select my heading 2, go to More Colors, and the RGB values for my heading 2, which is based on the Eco and Kinetico, are 152, 205, 20. 152, 205, 20. And there's that bright green. Click OK. I'd like to bold this. It's a 13 point. Maybe I'd like to kick this up one little notch to a 14. I don't want to use a border with my 2 heads, so I'm just going to hang on to that. I'm going to save it. And I'm going to call it K-Head 2. Okay. Which notice I can just quickly apply. Works just fine. The fact that I've created a custom heading doesn't change how I apply it. I apply it right here from the gallery, and if I switch to my styles, those headings will appear here in my styles pane in the same way that they appear in our gallery. All the styles we have created to this point have been paragraph styles, because when we choose Create a Style, right here in the Create New Style from Formatting, it says Paragraph Style Preview. Our use case is that whenever we mention a product by name, I want to apply our beautiful Kinetico color to it. I'm going to bold it and choose small caps so that it looks cool. And it's not a paragraph style. I want to be able to select text. So, for example, under wind installations, I have wind harvesters. That's our product name. So I want to format this. Some of the things that I want to do aren't available here. I'll actually need to open the font dialog box to be able to do small caps. And I'd like this to be bold. And I'm going to now go in and choose our color. So if I open up the color drop down, there's my Kinetico blue right here. And that's because I just used it recently. And so it hangs around, both the blue and the green. When I save this style then, choosing Create a Style, I'm going to choose Modify. And it says Style Type, and I'm going to change it from linked to character. And note that the style then is based on the default paragraph font. In other words, whatever style is already being used in the paragraph where I apply this new style, it will begin with those attributes. It will bold it, apply a custom color, and apply small caps. But notice there's nothing here that speaks to the actual font being used. That's being picked up from the paragraph. If I didn't want this in the Styles Gallery, I would turn this off, but I do want it in the Styles Gallery. And now I need to give it a name. And I'm going to call this K product name. Okay. Here it is in my Styles task pane, and note that it is a character style only. And if I wanted to use it somewhere else, works just fine. I created this document so we could talk about how styles are inherited. The styles we've created and worked with so far have been based on another style, with the exception of the normal style, which most of them are based on. For example, if we look at heading 1, you'll notice that this is based on normal. Heading 2, based on normal. Heading 3, based on normal. If I look at no spacing, it's actually not based on any other style, but the other styles here, by and large, are based on normal or occasionally on no spacing. I created 2 unique styles that are not based on the normal style. One of them is called unique style, and if we look at this, it's not based on anything. Therefore, it actually has to have a font and a font size included. And then uniquely green here is based on unique. The difference is it's a slightly smaller font and it's a different color. So here are styles based on normal, here are styles that are not. What that means is that if I change the normal style, I can assume that my title and my headings will change as well. So if I take my normal style and I modify it, for example, let's change the normal style so that the alignment is centered. Say okay, okay. Notice, all of these change because they depend on the normal style. They have no separate alignment of their own. They inherit the alignment. But these 2 styles that are not based on the normal style, they don't change at all. I'm going to undo that so we get normal back where we'd like it to be. And let's take a look at unique style. If I modify unique style, for example, to right justify it, the only thing that should change besides unique style is uniquely green style, because uniquely green is based on unique. One way to talk about this is to say that the relationship between unique style and uniquely green style is unique style is the parent style, and uniquely green is the child style. Or another set of phrases that are used is that the uniquely green style depends on unique style. In the same way that title, heading 1, and heading 2 depend on the normal style. With inheritance, anything that isn't specified in a style is inherited from the style that it's based on. So if I look at heading 1 actually names a font, it names a font size, and it names a font color, it names spacing, but it doesn't name alignment. And that's why changing the alignment of normal also changes the alignment of heading 1. Sometimes you create a new style and there's not even any discussion about what the font is, for example, perhaps only the size. And in that case, if I change the font, say from Calibri to Times New Roman, the font will change as well. Now that you understand how this works, you can decide when you want to create a new style from scratch or when you want to base a style on an existing style. Remember the inheritance between unique style and uniquely green. If I want any change I make in unique style, which might be, for example, a heading 1, to also impact heading 2, uniquely green, then I base heading 2 on heading 1. But if that's not what I want, if I instead want it to modify based on changes to normal, then I base it on the normal style. Or if I want to create a style like unique style that's not based on anything else, I would begin from scratch to create that style. And I would actually do that by simply entering some text, formatting the text, creating a style. When it says, what is the style based on? I say, it's not based on any other style whatsoever. That's how I created a unique style. When I have a document that was created using styles, I have the ability to access other tools like the table of contents, creator, which we'll talk about in a bit, but the navigation pane where I can rearrange my document. And when I have a document that I've created using styles, if I change my style set, my document changes. If I change my theme, my document changes. So if I have some text from another document and I pasted it in here, it will automatically be reformatted using the theme and the styles in this document. I can make a different choice on paste if I want to, but by default, and it's going to pop. And it will look just like text that was originally created in this document. You can create a lot of documents in Microsoft Word and never use a style. Here's an example of a document that was created without using styles, even though it's well formatted. Even though it's relatively well formatted. Whoever created this, their headings look the same. They've done some nice formatting, and we can reuse this. And in fact, Word can partially reuse it right now, which is interesting. If we go and look at this in draft, there are no styles applied. Normal, normal, normal. However, if I go to the Design tab and I choose different themes, Word will try to figure out, are any of these items titles or headings? And in fact, it will do a pretty good job of it. So if all I want to do is to reformat the document, Word can now do that for me, which is pretty slick. But I still would like to be able to use the table of contents feature. I'd like to be able to use the navigation pane. And therefore, I'm going to quickly and easily convert some of the formatting that's already here to styles. For example, that's clearly a heading, 1, and so is that. There's 3 of them. I'm simply going to select them, right-click, and update heading 1 to match my selection. And now this is what heading 1 looks like in this document. I can do the same thing with the title. Update title, match selection. Now this text that is orange with a blue fill in the back, not so great. I'm going to clear the formatting here. And I'm going to use something different like intense quote. That works well. Sort of wish it was a different color. I can do that. I can choose the orange and update intense quote to be that orange color. This is actually a style that is called book title, so I can just drop that in as book title. This style doesn't exist yet, but we could create this as a style or use one of these other styles and repurpose it. Like, for example, we could use intense reference. That's nice. We could change the color of it to orange and update intense reference to look like that, because we have another intense reference down here. And now I have a document that if I go to the navigation pane, it actually has headings so I can move the sections around if I wish. This will generate a table of contents for me. That's a good thing. And Word actually knows that these items are headings, that this is a title, and I know that because if I go to my draft view, I have a title, heading 1, normal, heading 1, and so on. If you have a well-formatted document, there's no reason not to try to take the existing headings, heading 1s, heading 2s, and so on, and change the style in order to match the document that you have. And if I now go back to my other document, and I pull up, for example, residential installations, and copy it, and I just drop it in here and paste it, notice my heading 1's formatted with a heading 1 style in this document. My normal text is formatted in the same way as normal text in this document. Now undo that to pitch it away, but with an investment of very little time, I can upgrade a document so that it performs better in Microsoft Word. By default, we either modify styles in the style dialog box, or it's a 2-step process where we first change the formatting and then we choose to update the heading, the title, whatever it is, to match the selection. But it doesn't have to be that way. I have the ability to have every style other than normal and no spacing be automatically updated. Let me show you how we do this in case you want to. So if I go to my heading 1 and I choose modify, I can say automatically update this style from this point forward. This is both really cool and somewhat terrifying, because if I now change the font, notice automatically all my other headings change. Pretty slick. So the upside of this is that I only have to change one heading 1. I only have to change one instance of strong or intense quote, and everything else changes. So if you like this, you can turn it on when you're formatting, particularly if you're changing a lot of headings in a document. Makes it really quick. On the other hand, you might want to set those attributes back to not automatically update before you share this document with other users. Or you need to make sure that they understand how styles update automatically, because every change to every stylized section of text in this document is updating all of the other similarly styled sections of text everywhere else, which is not how Word behaves normally. We've put a lot of work into the styles in this report. We have our K product name, our K head 1, our K head 2. We have the regular headings 1 and 2, which we may wish to get rid of. If we thought we didn't want people using them, we could get rid of them, and you simply right-click and choose to remove it from the style gallery. Perhaps we have some other things we wanted to eliminate. We can do that. But what if I want to be able to use these again in another document without needing to start with this document, which we often do? I like the way it's formatted, so I'll start with that and then just modify text as I go along. Well, there's a better way to do this, and that is actually to save this style set that we see here for reuse. You'll find the command over on the Design tab. Click on Style Set and save the styles we have now as a new style set. It will save it with your templates. So this is going to be K report. Simply save it. If I create a new document and I go to the Design tab, I find here K report, a new style set. And that style set includes my K product, my K head 1, my K head 2. The work you do on styles is readily reusable, and the easiest way to reuse it is simply to save your style set. We created 3 great styles, 1 a character style and 2 heading styles. We've saved the entire set of styles that they are part of as a style set that's available for the Design tab, but perhaps what I'd like to do is have these 3 specific styles available for every document that is created, regardless of the design set that's selected, because if I choose a different design set, it doesn't include my styles. Only this custom style set does. So let's see first how we would add these styles to every single document. And to do that, we're going to use the organizer. So from here, I'm going to open the Styles pane, and the 3rd button on the bottom has a check mark on it. It's Manage Styles. I'm going to open that up. There are 4 tabs here. There's a lot more that you can do with this dialog box, but we're going to drop down to the bottom and choose Import Export. On the left, our document here has all of these styles, and if we scroll down to the Ks, there are 3 that we created. And what I'd like to do is take K head 1, K head 2, and K product name, and I'm going to copy them over to normal.m. They will now exist for every single document that's created because they are part of the global template that loads when Word loads. I'm going to close this, and if I hit Control N, immediately I have access because I have added these 3 styles to the normal template. But what if I wanted to add these styles to a document that already exists? This is a somewhat familiar document, the earlier version of a document that we used to learn about how to create styles from existing text. this document could definitely use some style. So I'm going to click and go back to Manage again, back to Import Export, and I have these styles available, but in normal.m I have kproduct and khead1 and khead2, and I can copy them over and close, and now those three styles appear in this document for me to use. So if I wanted to choose my headings and change them into khead1s, there we go. Whether I want to add one or more styles to the normal template that serves as the default for all new documents, or I want to add styles to a specific document or template that I use, either way, I'm always going to use the organizer, which I get to through Manage Styles, Import Export, to be able to copy styles back and forth between documents. When I was first creating styles, I didn't always give them great names, so I learned how to rename styles out of necessity. If I choose a style like kproduct, which I forgot to put a dash into, and I'd like to add a dash like I have in khead and khead2, one way to fix this is to open the Styles pane. I'm going to park it over here, kproduct name, because one of my choices here is to modify this, and one way to modify it is to change its name slightly, or change its name a lot. And now it's in alphabetical order after khead1 and khead2. What if I want to delete a style? Well, deleting a style is just as easy, but it does have ramifications. For example, if I delete khead2, khead2 is based on heading 2, so all of my khead2s will revert to heading 2s. If I delete kproduct name, it's based on normal, so all of the text that's formatted using kproduct name will then be formatted as normal. So if I right click and I choose to delete kproduct name, it says, do you want to delete it from the document? Notice it's not saying delete it from everywhere. If kproduct name is being used in another document, and it is in several of the documents we've created, then it will continue to live on in those documents. But if I delete it, it's now gone, and any text that I had that used kproduct name, that text was right here, now have reverted to normal. If I undo, it's back. But if I didn't undo this and I saved the document, then kproduct name would be gone from this document unless I create it again or bring it back using the organizer. Now, I can't delete some of these styles. For example, if you point to normal, you right click, notice you can't delete normal. And in fact, you can't delete heading 1 or heading 2 either, but you can delete title, for example, if you wish to do that. What if I wanted to delete a number of different styles, like all the K styles I've created? Well, that's a job for the organizer. Again, right down here at the bottom of the Styles pane is Manage Styles, and I can scroll down the list of my styles, in the sort order we could make it alphabetical, that'll help. K comes before L. I can select a style and delete it, select another and delete it, and so on. If I no longer wanted to have my K styles available to every new document that I create, like they are right now, I would then need to remove them from the normal template. We would do that in the organizer as well. Go to Import Export, go back to normal.m, take these three, simply delete them. I'll be asked individually to approve them, and I close it. They're still here, but when I create a new document, they're not in the next new document created using the normal template. If I wish, I can also delete style sets. Style sets are not saved as part of the document. Remember, they were saved as a template. And so you can go to your templates folder and delete a style set. And if you do that, it will no longer be loaded when Microsoft Word loads. So you don't want to save lots of extra style sets, lots of extra designs, because they do take up additional bandwidth. 5, 6, 7, 8, yes, but 50, probably not. But if I delete a style set going forward, it will no longer be available as a style set. It will be a separate choice here in the designs to apply to new documents from the custom area. Managing and even deleting styles and style sets is an important piece of style leadership in your organization. One of the benefits of using styles in reports and other longer documents is you can quickly and easily create dynamic tables of contents. The same power that lets us see all of these different headings in the navigation pane can be used to generate a table of contents for us. I've added a cover page to our document, and now I want to insert a blank page for a table of contents. So Control Enter will get me a blank page. And I'm going to go to References, Table of Contents, and I really have several choices. The difference between Automatic Table 1 and Table 2 is 1 says Contents and 2 says Table of Contents. Then you can create a manual table of contents, but I'm going to choose Automatic Table 1. And there is my table of contents, just like that. And if I make any modifications to my document, for example, if we decide that we'd like to have our commercial installation start on a new page, so we do this, hold Control and hit Enter to add a new page. Now, commercial installations is starting on page 4 of 6, but my table of contents says it starts on page 3, but that's okay. Click in the table of contents, choose Update Table, and you can either update the page numbers only if all you've done is move items, or if you actually have changed the names of some of the headings, you could update the entire table. If you're not sure, just update the entire table, and now it's automatically renumbered for me. The assumption behind my standard table of contents is that I'm using heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, heading 4 styles for my table of contents, or in our case, styles that are based on those. But what if you have some styles that you want to use that aren't heading 1 and heading 2, but you still want to use them in the table of contents? Maybe you have a document where the styles were created from scratch, and they're not called K head 1 or K head 2. They're called My Heading 1. And they really aren't recognized as heading 1s. Don't worry about that. In that case, you're just going to have an extra step. You're going to go to the table of contents. You're going to go into your table of contents and go to Custom Table of Contents. And you can do this even after it's created. And click the Options button, and it says, Build a table of contents from styles. And here I'm saying heading 1s, heading 2s, heading 3s, you can use them, and they'll come in at level 1, 2, and 3. But notice also that here are our K heads. And if these were not listed, if they just didn't show up, and I created my table of contents, I'd be missing lots of stuff. Therefore, what I would need to do in my custom table of contents is go back into the options and go down to my K heads and say, well, if it's a K head 1, make it a level 1. If it's a K head 2, make it a level 2. And then my table of contents will be correct. There are some other choices that you can make in that custom table of contents dialog. You can choose what kind of a tab leader you want to have. You can even modify the styles that are used in the table of contents, which is pretty slick. You just go to Modify, and for TOC level 1, it's saying a bodied 11 point. But if you wanted to have something different, you can just modify the style that is being used for the level 1 of a table of contents, the level 2, the level 3, and so on. Even though it's taken me a few minutes to talk to you about how to create a table of contents, we can actually create it really in about a minute or less. So if I remove my table of contents here, let's do it one more time so you remember how easy this is. You go to References, Table of Contents, choose your table of contents, and you're all done. And if you need to update it, simply click in it and update either numbers or the entire table. I work collaboratively on a number of documents, and in a perfect world, all of my colleagues would be style experts. But in fact, many of them don't use styles at all. They simply go in and change the colors of text or apply bold or underline, and I'm supposed to try to figure out what that all means when I'm the person who's finishing the document and polishing it for all of us. Wouldn't it be great if I could just encourage them to use styles by making sure that styles are the tool that's available for them in the document? Yes, it would be great, and yes, I can do that. Here's what that process looks like. First, I need to determine what styles I'd like my colleagues to be able to use and ensure those styles are already in the document. I can remove styles I don't want them to use if there are any, and protect the document by restricting formatting to the styles then that I have allowed. So in order to do this, I'm going to go to the Developer tab, and I'm going to choose Restrict Editing. And if by chance you don't have a Developer tab available to you, right-click in the ribbon, choose Customize, and the Developer tab is one of the main tabs, but you might find that it's turned off. Just turn it on and click OK. When I choose Restrict Editing, the Restrict Editing pane opens on the right-hand side, so I close the style pane so it wouldn't be in the way. And I want to limit formatting to a selection of styles. After you choose that, click Settings. And right now, really, I could choose all the styles for my purposes, and I'd let them use every single style that was here. I could also do the recommended minimum, and it would turn some items off, but if somebody legitimately wants to use a particular table or grid, that's most of what goes away, then I might want to make that available. But if I choose all, then all of the styles are available. If I don't want them to be able to change the theme of the document, I'm going to check this box. And if I don't want them to change the design, the style set, I'm going to turn that on as well. So I'm saying you can really use any style that's available, but you can't change themes and you can't change style sets. So the design and the theme, I control those. Now, what this is going to do that it isn't telling you when I click OK is as soon as I say start enforcing protection, I need to enter a password. I'm just going to type in 123. Don't do that. Have a real password, but one that you'll easily remember. And you can use this for all of the documents that you protect in this way. By the way, a great place to store that would be someplace in Outlook because you can always get to it. You can even have a contact whose last name is password if you want. Now, notice what's happened to the tools in the font group and the tools in the paragraph group. They're basically gone. You can clear formatting still, but you can't manually apply formatting. What you can do is you can use styles. I simply close down Restrict Editing, and if my users wish, they think, I want to bold something, so where do you bold? It's over here, it's called strong. Okay. It helps when you're doing this if you have a little bit of conversation first about the intention is, here is the list of styles, using the colors that our organization uses, and this is how we're enforcing them. Simply use the styles from the list. Anything you would probably want to do is here, and if not, get in touch with me. Now, what if I want to edit this document? Well, I go to the Developer tab, I go to Restrict Editing, I stop protection. This is what's your password. 1, 2, 3, and now all of the tools are back. And that's important because the easiest way for me to create new styles is often by using these tools to set up a sample that I can then name as a style. I like this, and if you can restrict editing in your corporate culture, this is a great way to allow lots of people to collaborate on a document and to make sure that it has a good look and feel that's understandable all the way through. By the way, you can restrict editing not just on documents, but on templates that you create as well in Microsoft Word.